Your voice lead from within. With me today, Dr. Anita. She is back. And Dr. Biggett. I'm going to let Dr. Anita introduce herself. Dr. Anita, please introduce yourself. And we are doing part two. For those, if it is your first time today, please go back to part one before you watch part two, Dr. Anita part one, and before you watch this video. Over to you, Dr. Anita. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you, Dr. Bridget. Thank you, Nanta Clara. This is so cool. Part two. I'm just so happy to be here. I'm Anita Caprice. First and foremost, I'm a mom of beautiful, beautiful twin daughters. I am a mom-in-law to beautiful sons-in-law, and I'm a grandma to beautiful, precious five. Aside from that, because my creed is God first, family second, and then I arrange all of the other beautiful things on the journey. I'm an metaphysical doctor, uh, uh, energy gal. I'm just an energy gal. Been an energy gal since the 80s. And can you guys hear me okay? So I'm seeing a little bit of frowns here, so I want to make sure that I'm being heard. Can you hear me okay? Okay, cool. Okay, yes. So I'm a poet. I've been a poet, which I call my pieces poetic affirmations. I've been a poet all of my life, all of my life. I'm the founder of the Tap Into You movement. That's tapping into you with using a theocentric approach, meaning to tap into ourselves. The five constructs of the coaching methods. Let's see, the founder of the Empowerment Through Spoken Word Poetry. That's just now, it was established in 2018, and now a beautiful sister is working with me to get it going. My family and I, under the Angels Dream Team, we are partnering with the Burkina Faso West Africa community and buildon.org, building a school for the babies in Burkina Faso as well as the adults. They're bringing on a business acumen program for the adults, which we are moms and dads, which we are so very happy to be part of. I'm honored and have the blessing to serve as global chair for the All G 100 Oneness and Wisdom with Dr. Harbin, beautiful Dr. Harbin of Royal Rye, the founder. We have Denim Club partners, so we're a combination, a unity, a synergy of brothers and sisters working together. And I'm just so happy to be here. I'm one of those, what you see is what you get. At my age, my journey in life, I just embraced the easy peasy, nice and breezy. The author, I'm going to say co-author, because there's so much in the book. I've written so many things, notes in my book, of you, the co-author of you, your own universe and introduction, because let me fix, I'm seeing this, because I know that a lot of things that I received that's in the book came straight from the universe. So I said I'm a co-partner of the author, co-author of you, also the author of Reflections of an Angel, book of poetic affirmations, third volume, working on my fourth, and then just recently our anthology, a group of 14 inspired, beautiful women, global from around the world. We have Trinidad and Tobago, South Africa, Angola, United Kingdom, and the United States. The anthology is called The Divine Feminine, My Relationship with God, and those proceeds, as well as the proceeds, all of the proceeds from the anthology goes towards building the school in Burkina Faso, Africa, and then 15% of you goes toward building the school in Burkina Faso, Africa. And as a teacher, Anita, one time I was doing something with soap, because I'm an alchemist. I'm an alchemist at heart, and I love working with my hands. And I was at a vendor place, and one of the young guys that was there, vendor, he said, "What's your name?" I said, "My name is Anita." He said, "Oh, and now I've taught another." And I said, "What?" He said, "That's your acronym, the acronym for Anita." And I said, "Wow, that is so right," because I absolutely love to teach, not to tell people, especially grown folks, what to do. I just love to share and teach information in all of the classes that I do. As of this point, start, recently and continuing until we get that 32,000 all of the classes, all of the proceeds from my classes also go toward the Burkina Faso school building, the fund there. So that's Anita. Uh-oh, can't hear you, sis.
Bigot, please introduce yourself.
I love that, Dr. Anita. I love when you say it's what you see is what you get. and, and that's because really with you what we got is what we have somebody who is beautiful inside and out. It someone who has learned to live life, right? And as a grief transformation coach and speaker and authors, I sure learned how grief, as unpleasant as it is, it sometimes can help us become an even greater, a much greater versions of ourselves, just like you said in your book. It's everything is energy, and they go different places, and there's physical manifestations of everything. I notice a lot of I over the 18 years I'm working with grief, it's very fascinating. I think one of the reasons I find your book fascinating, I notice certain pattern with certain grief, actually. Very, very interesting. And I'd love your thoughts on that. Also, as well as you to listen on all these other very interesting and fascinating things. So, but it's so honored and so thrilled to be able to discuss your book and your brilliance today again.
Thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Do you have any questions you want to ask Dr. Anita, Dr. Bigot?
Yeah, to start with, I would definitely say, do you, but back to grief, actually, do you notice anything specific that when somebody. So what I notice is a lot of people that has we things that surprises me, actually, because I remember last week you talk about all these different energy centers, this chakra and things like that, right? And so maybe that has something to do with that. But I would think, okay, if you are grieving, like, at least if with me and my medical Western medical background, I would say, okay, I could comprehend if you have blood pressure problem. You know what I mean? It's like something that makes sense. Okay, you're grieving, maybe it's your blood pressure problem, perhaps it's your even heart problem. I could comprehend that. But there are things that I notice, like, depend on the cause of the grief, you might notice something where they start having problem with their feminine parts, or whether it's the ovary or the uterus, something like that. And then other people a lot of time have problem with in the stomach area. And
Mhm.
then the other thing that I also noticed, and I experienced this myself now looking back, and once I stopped being too so-called, gosh, that's impossible, it doesn't make sense medically kind of attitude, which at some point in life I'm like, this doesn't fit Western medicine. What are you talking about, right? But now that I'm looking back, the other thing is also mouth and tooth problem.
Okay.
And find that very fascinating as I look back and as I observe more and more with much more open mind nowadays. Do you notice anything particular?
Um, you know, with grief, and I can only speak for experience, what I've seen in my family, and then people who I've spoken with, in dealing with grief. Grief is a natural phenomenon. Of course, we know prolonged grief. It's been that's because I'm very careful in what I'm saying, because this is a very, very, very sensitive, intimate, and private emotion.
What's happened? Did she? What's happened, Dr. Bigot? Oh, I don't know what's happened to Dr. Anita. Maybe it's a signal. Can you hear me, Dr. Bigot?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, can you tell her to come out and then back again?
I'll do that, but see if the internet connection.
Oh, I think it might be the signal. Yeah, it might be the signal. So you can continue with the grief. Let's talk about what were you talking about the grief?
Oh, it's just interesting
Maybe
observation.
explain to the audience why you ask her this question until she comes back. So we've got to keep the conversation going.
Yeah, it is just something that I find it very interesting. You know, over the year I noticed, and this is not even just my clients, but also with friends. When particular, it could be clients, but also sometimes it's with friends. Hi, Dr. Anita, back,
So,
which is
yeah,
great.
something happened with with these, hey, listen, what you gonna
Yeah,
do? Like when I share with claimants, when we get disconnected on the phone, I said, listen, this is a glitch. I know you didn't hang up on me. It's just one of those things. Yeah, what what I was saying is that that's a very sensitive issue, an emotional issue. Now, in the stomach, well, let me back up. As far as the vibration, there are measures of vibration, and grief is one of them. There's in order according to doctrines. There's shame, guilt, apathy, grief. Okay, and all of those resonate at a lower vibration. Now, the grief that he's talking about, oh boy. Can you guys see me?
yeah,
Okay. The grief, let me pull this out. Okay. The grief that he mentions that he's talking about, that he says it specifically, is that prolonged grief. And only thing that I can share with those who I've spoken with on an intimate basis and that I've seen within my family, that prolonged grief has a component of guilt to it. you know and that component prolongs that emotional part of grief. Now, and I say that to say, because when you mention the stomach, the reproductive area, that's our root, that's our base chakra, and it's also the gift of our soul body, heart overhead. So, and our heart has chambers to it, just like the earth has mantles. The heart has the chambers of it. The center, the nucleus, is the truth center, but around that, that's where we hold like a bitterness and guilt and different things like that. That is also connected with our sacral chakra, and the base chakra is the base chakra is red, which indicates, the blood. The red indicates desire. That's desire of being either love and or hate, and in between those two polarities, the duality, you have the one energy, which is that grief, but you have the components of there. That's red. And then you have the sacral, which is orange, which is power. Emotion is power. It is the center of our thought with the intention. Emotion is very powerful. And that is in our sacral area. And our sacral stores all of the old emotions. You know what I mean? The emotions of not the feeling, because all of those, like guilt and different things like that, those are emotions. Joy is feeling, and then when you see around the jaw area, That's our manner of expression. So now I'm being restricted, and around the bone, you have bone, which is also your root, because your base chakra is connected to our musculoskeletal system. So anywhere there's bone, and then you have, like, Dr. Bird, around our face and our neck has so many nerve endings. So all of that comes together. It's like restrictive, the letting out, being able to express everything that we feel during this grief. Because sometimes we hold on to certain things that we just feel we just don't want anyone to know. So then we get, so then we have this restriction in our expression, which is human. That's love. You know what I mean?
So how do you release the restriction? Because I guess basically when you have restrictions, that means there's something weakened. So how do you gain the strength and release that?
From what I'm learning on my journey, the more I'm able to embrace that perfection in me, the more I'm able to let go of that imperfection. So the more we, in grief, the more we are able to recognize, hey, listen, there is absolutely nothing wrong with the way that I am thinking. There is absolutely nothing wrong in the way and what emotions I am experiencing. The more we recognize that and say, you know what, yes, that's a part of me that is experiencing this, but I know that's not the all of me. That does not make me wicked. That does not make me a bad person. That does not make me any of that. All it does is make me recognize that the humanness of me. So now that I recognize the humanness of me, let me also understand there's another part of me, self-awareness, that awareness that, yeah, also in me is divine. So if the more that I know, the more that we know that we are, there's perfection in us. There's all of these components that make us whole. The more we're able to say, well, my goodness, I can express this part of me because I'm not by myself. I'm not the only one that thinks like this. You know what I mean? So, and trusting that person, like it's not grief, but I was sharing yesterday, years ago, I mean, 10 years ago, there's no way in the world you would have heard me say to anybody, let alone on a virtual thing that some people can see, that I have issues with not having enough or not being enough. I never would have admitted that. Now I love that part of me because you know why? Because I know that there is a power, presence, and essence of a higher power that's within me that I can tap into. I now know that that part of me is not the all of me. And that's the same as with grief, guilt. That means that, okay, there's another part of me that is whole, healed, and harmonized. So it's okay if I feel, if I'm experiencing these sensations. That's quite all right. It's just a matter of us coming to the point with the information. It's okay. Because that's what stops us. It's not okay. I don't want what people are going to think of me, of what I'm thinking. Oh my God, I'm thinking this. They're going to think so bad of me because we are a judgmental society. You know what I mean? So to the point where you say, hey, you know what? That's another person's reality. I have a right to my own.
Yes, we do. We do live in a very judgmental society. Yes, we do. I agree with that. I basically sometimes I wish everyone could just give up and worrying about what people think, and this world would be a better place. Do you have
Yeah.
any questions, Dr. Bigot?
I love that. It's that you there's a lot of echoing by the way. So
I'm gonna mute myself.
I love what you say is there. It, the one way to release this, to actually to embrace what's going on, which is basically when you do and that it is a judgmental society. It is really is interesting to do it's judgmental society, and then it's also caused us to judge ourselves so much because of the training from the society, but also that the talking about to release them. But that's really is, the one thing that with the how you talk about embracing yourself, and it's kind of like a very interesting uh, thing, because here we know that we want to embrace ourselves, but then when we look at society, the message, and as a grief coach, this is some things I see all the time. People, if you ever have anybody have anything going on in their life, and then they say, let's say somebody said, oh, I have a loss of someone, and they put it online, everybody come rushing in and say, you got this, be strong, and all these things. But what is the message really when you're telling somebody to be strong? You're telling them two things. You're telling them to, whatever they are feeling, to push it aside and be strong, which is then not allowing their feeling. And then for many people who are already grieving, when you tell somebody to be strong, which is just something just irks grief specialists, like all the grief specialists, when we look at the post like that, we're like, oh God, not another one. Because why? First, you're not allowing the persons to really be themselves. They gotta be strong.
Right.
For don't even think to sit there and say, oh, this is it's been 9 months and I'm still miserable. But why? You gotta be strong. It's been 2 months, chop chop. I love in here, as you already know, if you work for a workplace, that the bereavement time is 3 days. 3 days. After that, you better get back to work, my dear. And so that's just like, wow, it really, it's a kind of bit hilarious there. And then the other part is when you tell somebody to be strong, you're implying to them that they are not strong, that they are weak. And it's just like, wow. And no wonder it's a lot of it, we're not allowing people. So back to your questions, Doomsa, but it's basically like what Dr. Anita said, to embrace. And for me, it's to complete, to move forward, to be able to correctly move through your grief, because then when you're doing that, then you release the energy. I mean, the whole thing's about being with grief, and any other other conditions, I would say, that cause physical illness, whether, like you said, if it is one of the thought leader Bob Proctor used to say is that creativity suppress. So
Mhm.
everybody has these things about being more alive, and I wonder what your thought. I think this is similar to what you say. Everybody has, so every one of us has in us to be more and more creative and be more and more alive. And if you suppress that, then over time you will feel depressed.
That is so correct with and the whole thing, Dr. Burgett. What we're saying is, when a person says be strong, um, it is up to me whether that affects me. It's not about what that person is saying on the line. It once and I just went to a light workers luncheon that was absolutely wonderful. And one of the sisters, it was on shadowed work. And she said, until we come to grips with our shadow, we are not going to go into the movement of moving forward. So my thing is, once it first starts with self-awareness, has nothing to do with that person saying be strong. Because once I'm going into self-awareness, then once I'm moving into aware that I have my flaws, aware that I have my destructive negative thinking, aware that yeah, there's some parts of me that are weak, there's some parts of me that are strong. Once I become aware of that, then I can move on to the assurance. because now I'm assured because I'm learning myself. From that assurance comes that from the awareness comes the assuredness, comes the acceptance. And that's the continuum of self-recovery. So when someone says be strong, one is one of those, okay, it's like one of those, they know not what they're saying, whatever their implication, or it's like a poem that I wrote sometime. I just found this. It should have been like, people say, oh, you should have been this and you should have been that. They may not mean it. They may mean it as a compliment, but it really isn't. People just don't, sometimes we just don't know. So, when they say, well, be strong, you know, it's one of those, what I'm saying is that once we go through these phases, what someone else on the outside says, really isn't going to affect us.
Yeah, but which is very beautiful, and that's the goal, isn't it? To have that that awareness. Unfortunately, or fortunately, there are more and more people of becoming more and more aware. But there is a good part of the society that's why I would say the magazines and all these other things are like, hey, you better look like this model and you better look at that. It's still popular
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the people are still on their journey into that awareness. But definitely I would agree that the goal is to have enough awareness to say it doesn't matter what your neighbor, your magazines, your sister, your dog says. It's you to be you, but which is like what you say, it's back to embracing and celebrating the inside, the inner you.
Well, yeah, I mean, and even sometimes, I mean, being able to express, if I have if I'm sharing with the sister and I'm expressing, hey, I got these fears, hey, I'm jealous of her. I wish I want, I don't want any harm to her, but I'm admitting I'm a little jealous. Once we come that we're able to express these things, that's the power. That is the power. And that's our self you know what I mean? Like COVID taught a lot of us that it's it taught us to be still. And to be still, we had to get quiet. And to get quiet, we had to go inside. I remember years ago, hey, ain't no way in the world I would sit up here and meditate. 20 years ago, if COVID happened, I would have went out of my mind because I was not ready at that time to swallow that pill, because I going through the gamut of I don't like myself because of these thoughts, swallowing these pills. That's the unfoldment, though. And even during whatever period that we're in, it's that time. You know what I mean? It's then that we say, yeah, I'm having these thoughts. Yeah, this is what I'm thinking. And then someone else is saying, you know what? It's okay. And the more we and that's outside validation. I understand that, but the more we express that, and as some people say, put that out into the universe, the more we start. It's just an organic thing that we start to, one, that burden is lifted from our shoulder, and we begin to feel free, because it's like, I'm still here. After all of what I just said, all of this ugliness I may feel that's in me with these thoughts, I'm still here. And who I shared it with did not judge me. That's you see what I mean? So yeah, I mean, it all there for me. The information for me is, for my journey, what I've learned, it begins with me. It begins with me. There are times that I'm thinking thoughts, and I'll say, oh, whether Father, Mother, God, or Source, or whatever. I don't want to think those, but I'm acknowledging them. That's the thing. We've got to acknowledge, just like that sister at that luncheon, until we come to grips with the shadow part of us, that human element. We're not. We're talking. We're just sharing. We're talking. because we've got to embrace that. And I don't mean, and I do mean embrace that about us. I love it. Love it. And say it, clear it, clean it. Like I just did a whole Ho'oponopono session, which is, class, whatever, workshop, whatever, which was absolutely wonderful, because what it taught me is that the truth is every single thing that I've learned and read and that I'm embracing is teaching me. It all starts with me. It all starts with the individual. It doesn't matter the spiritual practice, the religious book. It doesn't matter. It all starts with me. And how do we do that? We to come to grips with all of who we are. It ain't all positive, and it ain't all destructive, negative either. It's okay. Hey, we're beautiful.
Yeah, I used to say I learned to love all the good, great, and ugly, and the abominable part of me.
Yeah, yeah, because we have them. I mean, we all do. And it's okay. It's okay. And those energies, the chakra only mirrors our thought. Each chakra just mirrors our thought. And when we're having issues in our reproductive area, sometimes that issue in our reproductive area too could mean, if there's an issue, it means that's where we manifest. And if there's issues, it could be, hey, my brother, hey, my sister, our soul saying, it's time for you to create something, but you're too blocked up. There's an idea that you have in you, but you're too blocked up. You're not seeing it because you're concentrating on what you don't have. You're concentrating on what the part of you that you ain't, that you think you ain't. And there's an idea that's just waiting to be born. So we're having issues in here.
Wow, that's very interesting. So to see it that way, that it's actually, the looking and notice that what is the opportunity there is what I'm feeling, because for you to, yes, you learn to embrace, but right? That's
Mhm.
what.
And also letting go, because our sacral chakra is also the gift. We have the gift of the protective negative. We have an innate need to belong, and sometimes we'll hold on to things and people long after we should have released them, and we're going to experience in our sacral area, because our soul could be just saying, let it go, it's okay, just let it go. Because one thing in grief, there is no such thing as whatever. I mean, for me, life is eternal. For me, is there a beginning? Is there an end? For me, no. I'm donning a glove. That has nothing to do with my soul and my spirit.
Amazing. That's really amazing. That's really amazing. Me, I need to find out. In your book, there's a thing where there's a chapter where it says a stressed overreactive, sha- a stressed overreactive chakra living life consciously, physically, psychologically issues, metaphysical cause. So, if you explain to someone who is watching, what does that mean?
Yeah, thank you, Mount Clara. In the book, there are sections of each of the chakras to let
Yeah.
us know, like, when our energy is weakened, because that, like I said, that chakra is a reflection of our thought, and when it's weakened, then we may have those issues in our tissue. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So yeah, and metaphysically, that just means, hey, we're just going beyond the physical a little bit to go beyond that naked eye, to say, hey, this is an area that needs to be, this needs some work on. That just needs to take a look at, as far as our thought, because everything, if you notice, any type of weaken, any type of issue that resonates like at a low vibration, it's emotional. And why do they, and what is that thing? All dis-ease or disorder, 80% emotional and 20% physical. So when we go into and we really look at that, like for instance, friend, let me just think of something. Let me go through the book here with our like with our hips. You know, our hips like is to move forward, according to Louise Hay. So if we're having issues with our hips, okay, what is in my thought? And not, what am I fearing to move forward? What am I fearing to move to the next step? Dr. Bernie Siegel, in his book, it indicated arthritis just is when we're restricting ourselves. In other words, you know, Namsa Claire, someone may offer, you may say, I want to get, I want, and I'm pronouncing your name right, am I right? Because I'm a stickler. Okay, yeah, I'm a stickler with that. So, sis, when you know somebody might offer you the job of your dream, you know what I mean, and this, and hey, this is it, and then you give yourselves reason why you can't take it. That's restricting. And a lot of times when we do that, we will feel some type of inflammation in our bones because that arthritis, because arthritis is nothing but an inflamed area, inflamed tissue and all that. So that's what we mean by metaphysical. And then the people that come into our lives, they're a mirror. That's a beautiful chance to again tap into ourselves and clean. If I have someone in my life that's manipulative, I have a way to I can look at that and clean myself. And because it's not about the other person. And we tend to, and I know that part, and I'm just going to keep saying it. And I know for some people that's difficult. I understand it, you know, look away, turn away, and just, and by movement, I know, okay, that's not an acceptable thing. That doesn't make it not the truth. We have got to come to a point to say, you know, it's not about that person that did this. What that person is doing is sharing with me the thought that I need to be cleaned. I need to clean my thought about it. And that's how we also move forward on this journey of obtaining peace, because it's all about peace. I mean, you know, we can talk about success and title and money and house and cars and prosperity and all that kind of stuff. The main thing is to garner and to be able to maintain and establish a sense of peace, whatever we're doing, that we have this peace and that little one, that joy that is still inside of us. Yeah, so that's what that means. It's just all about tapping into ourselves, you know, like some people say, being responsible with the coaching. I mean, I don't know if you are, Dr. Berger, you're a coach, right? Grief coach. Now, so Claire, are you a coach? Uncle, what are the first things? The five things in coaching. First, I've got to acknowledge there's a need for change. The second one is that I've got to say that I'm willing to make that change. The third one is that that's right in the middle. I am responsible for that change. The fourth one is that I'm going to make the change. And what's that fifth one? I'm doing it. I'm making the change. It ain't got the five essences of the coaching construct ain't got nothing to do with I got to look at that other person and see what they did, whatever. It's nothing in coaching that says anything that you look outside yourself to realize, to get an answer. It's always inside here.
Yeah, I love that, because you know a lot of time, particularly with grief, right? It's and it is, and I'm saying this not to dismiss anyone pain or undermine the severity of anything, but it's very easy when something happened, particularly if it's like an accident or something. You know, say your loved one got got hit by a truck by a drunk driver. And
Mhm.
yes, of course, our heart with you. But at the same times, we, particularly in this society, but also in general, we have like as a lot of people call it the blame society. It's always you do this and you cause me to be this way, and you cause that, and all outside of us. And at the same time, so with the coaching that I have, based on the grief recovery system, they said, at the end of the day, you need to at least take 1% responsibility. It's possible that everybody do everything else. You are responsible for one thing. You're responsible for how you feel. Nobody
Right.
can truly cause you to feel anything. I was speaking with someone who says, gosh, these people better and then worse again, and it's just kind of like a roller coaster of behavior. And they
Mhm.
said, yes, but at the same time, things could happen, and you might be affected by them, or it could be things happen and you are not being affected by them. There is an all African sayings, I believe, that when you throw an arrow, I mean, even if you truly just look at everything, you can throw an arrow, and if there is no landing board, that arrow is not going to get there. You're not going to get anywhere. It's just like plopped out in the air, right? And the same thing is, there is the bait will not get caught if there is no hook. If you have if you're fishing and there is hook, if you not allow yourself to be bait by that hook, the hook's not gonna get to do anything. So, which is I think aligned with what you share in there. Of we can have all these things out there, and at the same time, it's our responsibility. It's
It,
not what people doing.
it really is, and it can be a hard pill to swallow. I understand. I understand. And one thing we to know is that not all things are explainable. Not all things we don't know. I mean, I'm the first one to say, listen, I don't know nothing. Only thing I can know is just pray that what I'm speaking before I do anything, my consultations with claimants, representation with claimants, coming on here, the first thing I'm doing is saying, hey, you know what? Okay, speak through me. Let me hear what I'm to say, kind of thing. And one is that before I go, I went in that mirror and I said, yeah, okay, yeah, I trust you. I looked at myself in the mirror. I trust you, because I can't trust what's in me if I don't trust what I'm seeing outside of me. So just knowing, but absolutely, let there, Paul of the Beatles said it years ago, let there be peace and let it begin with me. With everything, let there be happiness and let it begin with me. I just had an experience, and I shared yesterday at Menards, and that really opened my eyes and said, okay, see, this does. I went to go get some hooks to frame in my dining room, and there was a young man on at the podium on the phone, and I needed help. Well, I stood in front of him. Now, at one time, see, I had to do some cleaning, as they call it. I love that word. At one time, I would have thought first, like, okay, see this. He was a Caucasian young man. I would have went, okay, it's a racial thing. He see me here, so now he's ignoring me. And I would have even said, excuse me, young man, I just need to know where some hooks. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, all I need to do is ask you a question. You show me, then you get back on the phone. Well, that was my time, and I'm so glad that I'm just so blessed that I had the wherewithal to take a moment and say, think about what you're thinking, clear it, clean it. So I just started saying, you know what? No, where I am is where I'm supposed to be. I love where I am. I love this young man. I love the the blessing that I have the money here to go buy these hooks. I'm so, forgive me for thinking, for getting ready to jump into that racial thing and getting ready to take it personal that he's ignoring me. Forgive me for that, and I thank you. When that young man got off that phone, he apologized so much. He said, "Ma'am, I am so sorry." He said, "I have been on the phone with this person for so long, and I was so frustrated. I was just trying to help them." He showed me where the hooks were. That's because changing that energy. But so often we're not even aware that we even think that. We don't even catch it. We don't even catch. That's what I mean. And it's called situational awareness. Those subtleties that's the part of self awareness, being aware of our subtle thought, because everything begins with a thought. Our thoughts affect the energies of our chakras. They do. They do that, which creates our aura. So anything, I mean, so it is. Again, it's self-responsibility.
Yeah, I love that. It's basically similar to what I always say. It's notice what you're noticing moment to moment. You know, notice where where your thoughts going, and notice where your feelings sayings to you. And sometimes, like you said, we want to put it on the outside, or many times one of the reasons I'd say people are having so much challenge in life is the other part is they try to jump ahead so far. You know, it's like I'm feeling this, but I'm thinking about 2 days from now, and 2 weeks from now, and 2 months from now. Like, honey,
Right.
we don't even know if you're gonna be here 2 weeks or 2 months from now. We just
Right.
focus, because when you work with cancer patients, which is my background is in oncology, they're like,
Yeah.
but what if I'm like, focus right now. It's just like,
Right.
let's not, I'm not trying to be mean, but we're talking about cancer. We don't know if you're gonna be here 2 years from now or not. Let's not worry. Do what you could for now, and focus and breathe. Because then you know, if you're not trying to think about, I mean, how could you even plan your life 2 years from now? Yes, we do want to have certain thing we plan, but just, I think the pandemic, COVID 19, teach us something of being able to let go and not over planning and not to be so attached. Because, hey, who's sitting there expecting in the world going to shut down? Where even in January 2020, we have all these events that we then plan, and then you're like, well, yeah, we have 2 days to shut everything down. It's like,
Right.
I will
Right.
need to leave right on time today. So, but just to want to let you guys know, so you both know ahead of time. But so I'll need to leave very shortly. But I love how you have your just how that it's so through your own universe, because how you perceive everything is really what creates your reality.
And that's beautiful. Because that mean Einstein said, "Hey, match the frequency with your reality, and you're gonna get this." It's not. It's not. What he said? He said it's not spiritual. It's not religious. It's physics. You match the frequency with that reality, you're gonna get it. Yeah. So I want to ask you, Dr. Burton, dealing with cancer. Yeah, I'm reading intermittently Dr. Siegel, Bernie Siegel, uh, Love, Miracle, and Medicine. And so you've heard of him? What do you think of it? Have you read his book?
I have read his book, and practically every book in pieces. So
Okay.
yeah,
Oh, I really like it. I really. Oh, you too, now, Claire. You read his book. I like. I'm
No,
learning so.
I've not read his book. I've not read his book.
Okay. Yeah,
But
because yeah.
I believe in miracles. I believe in miracles.
Oh yes, Lord.
it
I,
was it's one of the, I'm going to close with this. It's a lesson that I learned as a very young oncologist, before I was even an oncologist. this actually. And this is something that's also my final message for all of our audience today. And that is, back in the day, I was in training, and for to become a board certified oncologist, but you have to take so many exams, it's unfathomable, among other things. And so I took the first round of exam, and my mentor said, how did it go? Don't you think you passed the exam? And I look at her and thinking that she will empathize with me, or sympathize actually, back in the day. And I said, well, I was like, pass the exam. I was like, it'll take miracles. I said, it'll take, yeah, if miracles happen, then I'll pass the exam. No. And she looked at me, my oncology mentor, board certified doctor. She looked at me and said, miracles? But you believe in miracles, don't you? You cannot become an oncologist if you do not believe in miracles.
Oh, wow.
And being a resident, I immediately say, absolutely, I believe in miracles.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. I love that.
If you want to become an oncologist, or you want to thrive in this world, believe in miracles. Because miracles, what is really miracles? Miracles is having a positive outlook and taking the action for it. That's
Absolutely.
miracles, and miracles do happen in this life, and that's my message for everyone as well. That miracles do happen, but it
I love
doesn't
how you say that too.
just sitting on the couch like Jim Carrey says and do nothing. You got to believe in it and take the actions. But hey, believe in miracles. That comes from oncologists.
I love how you say that word too, Dr. Virgin. Miracles. I love that. Say that again. That's so cool.
Oh, miracles.
Yeah, yeah. See, I say miracle. I like that. I mean, yeah, that's so cool. Thank you. Before we go, is it okay if I say where people can get the book? Okay.
Of course.
Okay.
Where they can get the book and where they can find you as well.
Okay. 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 So just quickly, first of all, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, beautiful, my so beautiful sisters here. The book may be purchased at Amazon.com, and just type in "You Your Own Universe,"
Oh no,
or
the link for the book. The link for the book, the links are on the video as well.
you want me to send the link?
No, I put the links already.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so everybody got it.
So you
Okay.
can tell them to find the links for the books. If they can't find them on Amazon, you just click the video at the bottom. The link is there.
Okay, cool. So we're all set. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Claire. As we used to say in the prison, good looking out, sis.
Yeah, the link is there, and your social medias as well, and your website. Everything is there at the bottom. You just have to say it again so people so they don't forget. Remind them where to find it.
Okay, yep, Amazon.com, and then also my website, AnitaCPowell.org. Yeah, so those two are the places that you can get it. And then you can also contact me at 313-605-8220, or Facebook, Dr. Anita Caprice. Email, which one? Email, spoken
Your
word.
email is there as well.
Okay, because I have 1,000 emails, so I don't want to mix. I don't want to get that confusing.
Yeah,
So
everything is there. If they get lost, they'll find your information there.
beautiful,
Everything is there.
beautiful. Thank you both so very much. I love you both. I mean, I'm just honored. I just thank you for believing in this book. Thank you for your love and support. I thank you. I appreciate you. And I'm thankful and grateful for both of you.
Thank you. It is our pleasure, and we love you very much. And I will see all of you, our audience, again next week. Bye-bye for now.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
Dr. Biggett is got to run. So please get in touch with the Dr. Biggett or Dr. Anita if you basically want to get hold of her. all her links are on the bottom of the video on YouTube. So if you're watching the videos, please click at the bottom. You'll find the links and get in touch with her and follow her on her social media and go on Amazon. Just buy her book. I think the link is on Facebook as well. The Facebook link, it takes you to your website, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe so.
It's not
Yep.
it's not expensive, so just get the book and read it. It's very, very amazing.
Yes.
And if you have any questions, and like she said, she accepts phone calls and emails. If you can't get a hold of her through phone calls, just let me know. I'll make sure, me and Dr. Biggett will make sure that we get hold of her. Hopefully she'll come again, guys, and God bless. Live with grace.
Thank you.